All right, History 101 students, let's talk about Chapter 4 in Kevin Riley's Worlds of History. And I wanted to give you this short preview to give you some things to think about while you're reading so that you kind of know what you're looking for. But don't forget, Kevin Riley tells you what to look for in the setup for the chapter and the setup for each document. So you guys would be crazy not to read that stuff. So, the chapter itself is a comparison of government. How do different societies choose to govern themselves? And we're really looking at empire as a form of government. So, how are empires governed? And so, in order to get this question about how are empires governed, we turn to the Roman Empire and to the Han Chinese Empire. So it's not just a comparison of Rome and China. There's a specific thing we're comparing, and that is how these empires are governed. Both empires have officials, both empires have armies, both empires have rules, but they use all these different tools in their toolboxes differently. That's what you want to be on the lookout for. The other thing that you want to be on the lookout for each and every document is when we get into this issue about how people should be governed. What we're really looking at is what do you or what do the authors of any of these documents believe is the fundamental characteristic of human nature. If you believe that human nature is fundamentally good or fundamentally cooperative, you might come up with a different set of answers to how people should be governed than if you think that human nature is fundamentally evil or fundamentally competitive. So, the first four documents are Chinese documents, and the first two documents get into the two big philosophies of China. All right, Confucianism and Taoism. And Confucianism and Taoism are often described as two sides of the same coin, sort of a yin and a yang thing. A Chinese saying is Confucian by day, Taoist by night. So don't let the differing positions confuse you. It is possible to hold both positions. The Confucian document really gives us a nice flavor of what Confucius was like and some basic fundamental Confucian beliefs. And really, there's that long section in the document on moral force. What is moral force? And how would that work in terms of government? On the Taoist document, Lao Tzu's document, it's a little different. You may have to read between the lines a little bit more on this one. There are parts of it where it talks about how to govern, but there's also parts of it where it's talking more about human behavior. So you may need to read between the lines on this one in terms of if an official is a Taoist, if they're following some of these beliefs about how to behave, how to motivate people, how to get people to do certain things, how would they govern? What would they do? And maybe more importantly for both of those documents, what is their fundamental position on human nature? The third document, we get to Hang Fei's piece on legalism. Now, legalism is also a very popular system in China. And just go through the document. What does Hang Fei think the fundamental characteristic of human nature is? And how is that different than what we see with the Confucians and the Taoists? And he's really kind of laying out a different idea for you. And then finally, we have the record of the debate on salt and iron. And that is a debate between the Confucians and the legalists. And that debate concerns whether or not a government monopoly on salt and iron should be maintained after the war in which it was implemented is over. And then there's a debate that occurs between the legalists and the Confucians on how to handle that. Now, part of the document is the debate. What's up with the debate? What do you see? But then the other part of the document is the fact that it even exists, because we don't have a whole lot of record of these kinds of debates in China. It's not necessarily how things worked. So keep that in mind as you go through the documents. On the Roman end of things, Document 5 is a secondary source by Nicholas Purcell. And the document is called The Art of Government. Why is he calling government an art? Why does he call Roman government an art? Keep that in mind as you go through his document. What does Roman government look like? Because it looks different depending on where you're at in the empire. And that is pretty critical for understanding what's up. And then we've got 3 primary sources. One of them from Cicero to his brother. His brother has just been made a magistrate of the province of Asia. And Cicero's telling him, now that you're about to be a magistrate, here are some things you need to know. What does he tell his brother he needs to know? How does he tell his brother to behave? Who does he tell his brother to surround himself with? Who does he tell his brother to not surround himself with? And what does the advice to the magistrate of Asia tell you about the way that particular part of the Roman Empire is governed? Same kind of thing for Document 7, this correspondence between Pliny and Trajan. Pliny is a governor in contemporary Turkey, and he's got an issue on his hands in terms of a Christian population that are breaking the laws. And he's trying to figure out how severely to pursue all this. So, what does he say has actually been done? What's the crime? And what does Trajan tell him? And then what does that tell you about how that part of the Roman world is governed? And then finally, we've got this last piece by Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, on the Meditations. And, keep in mind, this guy's the emperor. And he's writing these philosophical treaties. And so what's he saying? What's he saying humans are like? How's he saying humans should behave? How's he saying that humans should be motivated? This is probably a pretty good one to compare to Confucius. What's the comparison between Marcus Aurelius and Confucius? And then once you've done all that, you'll be in some kind of a position to make a statement about, these are some general ideas about government from the Chinese point of view. These are some general ideas about government from the Roman point of view. That's all I got. See you around campus.